What do privilege and climate change have in common?
The fact that some people over-exaggerate them in order to make certain people feel guilty for existing?
Well, they both exist, even if you think they don't.
Yeah, I was close. Fuck this shit. Let's do a real intro. Hey everybody and welcome back. Hi. I'm trying to film a video here. Hey everybody and welcome back. Sorry I've been away for so long. I've had some personal shit going on, which included switching to this new truck, which if you want to catch the tour of this, check out the link in the description to my vlog channel, Hey Dude the Trucker. I should have that video up in a few days or maybe a week. But in the meantime, it's back to business on this channel. And we have a Fem Freak video that was absolute pure cancer, as pretty much all of them are, so let's get into this shit.
Privilege. As far as some people are concerned, privilege should be lumped with Bigfoot and UFOs as something a few folks are convinced exist, but can't show any compelling evidence to prove it.
That's because we got more evidence for Bigfoot than you do for privilege.
I think that was a real squatch.
Hell, we got more evidence for aliens than you do for privilege.
It looked like a giant booger with real skinny legs.
Well, I'm here to tell you that it's very real.
Yes, but are you gonna just say that it's real, or are you gonna provide some compelling evidence to show us that it's real?
Contrary to what right-wing pundits and radical white supremacists would have you believe, pretending privilege doesn't exist doesn't make it disappear.
And just simply telling us that it exists doesn't do fuck all to solve it either, so I really don't know what point there is in making this shit.
It's not Tinkerbell, folks. So what is privilege? In simple terms, privilege theory argues that each individual is embedded in a matrix of categories and contexts.
In other words, it's a way to put people in boxes in order to make certain people feel guilty for being born.
And will be in some way...
Anita, do you mind if I try something here?
Sure.
Great,
The fuck is that?
I think that was a real squatch.
Okay, so to help illustrate the concept of privilege, let's imagine we're creating a character in a video game. Now, ours is an open world game that's designed to be very realistic.
You are using the term realistic very loosely.
And models real life situations and challenges, school, work, relationships, and so on. It's a meticulously crafted, expansive recreation of...
No, we don't have a budget for that.
Bitch, you scammed your viewers out of $200K 2 years ago to make 4 measly videos. I make damn near 1 a week, and I do the shit for free. Now, yes, I'm a little lower on the subscriber count than you are, but that ain't the fucking point.
Right, okay, well, hey, just play along.
Go on.
In order to accurately simulate real life, the programmers have made it so that the world of the game will treat you very differently, depending on the choices you make when creating your character, starting with the first choice the game gives you.
Whatever you're going to say next, I bet it's wrong.
If you want the easier option, you put the gender setting on male.
The fuck are you talking about? Being a man ain't that easy. I don't see you or Anita strapping on a pair of work boots so that you could go down to a job site, slaving all day in the hot sun in order to build a road, and having a shit in a porta potty that your buddies drew dicks all over while they were taking a shit. Now, come to think of it, honestly, Anita sounds like that kind of girl that would scream if she found out she had a shit in one of those. And that's privilege.
Set it to female, and you have to contend with sexism in the game's world.
Bitch, you are just sexist towards men by assuming that our life is easy just because we're men.
Yeah.
Set it to non-binary, and you'll face misunderstandings, social exclusion, and the constant challenge of living in a world that isn't designed to accommodate you.
Most non-binaries make up their own problems, and the world is not designed to accommodate anybody. Life's not fair, get the hell over it.
Game characters who have the setting on male have the privilege of not having to deal with any of that.
Oh bullshit, men do have to deal with that shit. I just proved that you were sexist towards men a minute ago. And we deal with certain social exclusions, like, for example, the lot of you blaming men for the problems of the entire fucking planet. And also, let me point out, I don't see any men in this video.
Whoa. Wow. Not having to deal with sexism would be awesome.
Right?
Right?
Right. So stop being sexist towards men!
You want to try?
Yeah, okay, so it looks like race is up next. Obviously, white is going to be the easiest option here, right?
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 Right.
Wrong!
Yep. Choose anything else on the spectrum, and you're going to be subject to some form of racism.
You deal with that shit on the white setting too. There are several channels dedicated to that shit. One of them taking it to the extreme of thinking that a kid deserves to be bullied because his parents may have been racist.
Which could manifest in countless ways. Good luck graduating from a decent school, finding a decent job, or qualifying for a loan, hypothetical player character.
You hear that, darker skinned people? This bitch don't think you're gonna be able to graduate from anything, or live a life, or get a loan, or whatever the fuck else.
That's racist.
You can get there, but it's almost always going to be harder. And as a bonus, people will assume you got there through some sort of affirmative action game hack.
Nobody with a brain and common sense actually fucking says that.
Oh, and any random interaction with law enforcement might result in your death.
Yeah, well, you know how you deal with that problem? Do what the police tell you, and...
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
There's no such thing as a perfect run for you. Those who play as white characters enjoy the privilege of not having to worry about that.
Really, bitch? Let's take a look at this shit. 2015 report from the Washington Post. Out of people killed by police. Out of 385, 171 of them were white men. 100 were black men. 45 were Hispanic. 6 were Asian. 3 were other. And 31 were unknown. So, why ain't you chewing out the Hispanics and the Asians for their I don't get shot by the police privilege? Because they're doing a hell of a lot better than white and black men. Or maybe have you thought about the fact that it's how you behave around the cops?
That's what this feller did. Come out, the cop says freeze. You look at the cop, you ball your fist up, and you charge the cop. Guess what's gonna happen? The cop carries a gun on his side, he's gonna shoot you dead. That's what happens. What happens? White, green, purple, green, or yellow, blue, black, blue. You know what I mean? No color involved.
Oh, are you making a character for Real Life Simulator 2K18?
Yeah, we sure are. And the next option is whether our character is cis or trans.
Surprise! Cis is way easier.
Well, no shit, Sherlock. Most trans people wish that they were cis because they'd rather not have to deal with the side effects of being trans.
Some of the scenarios the developers have created for those playing as trans characters are a real nightmare. And not like in some Dark Souls, oh, what a satisfying challenge kind of way. I'm talking stuff nobody wants or should have to deal with.
Yeah, for example, depression, a 40% suicide rate pre and post-op, and a medical field that currently, to my knowledge, is doing fuck all to see if there's another solution to gender dysphoria aside from surgery. And for the record, I don't have anything against trans people. I know a few of them myself. I just think it would be more beneficial to them to try and find a better way to alleviate the stress of gender dysphoria that may not include surgery.
Wow, so there's also an option to select what class you're born into. I want to see what it's like to be in the 1%.
Well, you easily scam 200K out of your fans to make 4 measly fucking videos, so I'm pretty sure you could scam enough to put yourself in the 1%.
I'll give you $10,000.
That's called playing on easy mode.
Bitch, what the fuck do you know about being in the 1%?
Sip champagne on your yacht,
God, so rich and bored.
secure in the knowledge that many people will assume you're somehow smarter, more attractive, or more worthy of the protection of the law simply because you're rich.
Okay, being in the 1% is not all champagne wine glasses, parties, and grabbing women by the... Most everybody in the 1% runs multi-billion-dollar companies, nationwide or worldwide, and they gotta make decisions on a daily basis that could affect their employees, their customers, and one wrong decision could lead to you losing everything.
Hell, you don't even have to be a member of the 1% to experience an easier time in the game. How about just being comfortably middle class
Go fuck yourself.
and never having to choose between buying groceries or having the bus fare to get to work?
Wrong again. Just because you're comfortably middle class doesn't mean you never have to worry about making those decisions. If you don't make good decisions with your money, you won't be middle class very long. And hell, you may have bad weeks sometimes, and maybe you do have to choose between buying certain groceries or getting the bus fare to work. Life's complicated. You can't play this game by putting people in boxes and telling them what they do or don't deal with based on what boxes you put them in.
As a side quest, no one wins. Basically, if your player character is poor or working class, you're going to spend a huge chunk of your electronic life facing a never-ending stream of soul-sucking challenges. And that's incomprehensible to people who have money.
Oh, get fucked! How do you know that the people with money weren't poor working class at one point and worked their asses until they got to middle class or 1% or whatever? You don't know everybody's life, and you can't say that they don't know what it's like to not have money, because there's a good chance that they do know what it's like. And besides that, I didn't see one challenge in that little menu thingy you got up there that a person in the rest of the classes doesn't have to deal with. A car breakdown could actually strap you for cash even if you're middle class. And for those of you wondering, I am saying this from the perspective of somebody who is poor working class. I'm currently living out of the truck with my wife and the dogs, trying to save up money to get us out of the hole that we dug ourselves into because of our own bad decisions. We have never once blamed the rich. We have never once claimed it was because we don't have privilege. We have never once thought that we were entitled to some way of getting ourselves out of that just simply because we exist. We work our asses off and try to get out of it as best as we can.
And it looks like that's just scratching the surface. There are so many other options here that can have a tremendous impact on your experience. Where you land on the sexuality spectrum, whether you're able-bodied or disabled. The list really goes on.
And there's really no need for you guys to make the fucking list in the first place.
How many verses are there, anyhow?
27.
Time for cake.
Yeah, and for each individual setting, there's one option that matches what society considers normal, and therefore gives you the privilege of not facing any oppression or social injustice as a result. And then there are options that bring with them a host of obstacles and oppressions.
Everybody faces hardships, everybody faces certain types of oppressions. And bullshit like what you're preaching right now does fuck all to solve any of that.
Yeah.
Right. It's nonsense like heteronormativity and cisnormativity that helps perpetuate the oppression of queer and trans folks.
What the fuck are you even talking about?
You see, our culture treats heterosexuality as the normal setting and views other sexualities as deviations from that.
That's because technically it is normal to be heterosexual. Nothing against people who aren't, but technically it is normal to be heterosexual because a majority of the population is such.
Similarly, under cisnormativity, so being cisgendered, which means having a gender identity that meshes with the gender you were assigned at birth.
Oh, fucking hell. Hey, June, you think you can make me an assigned gender at birth button?
And no one is assigned a gender at birth. Your gender is observed at birth.
That's viewed as the standard setting, and trans people are seen as other.
That's because being cisgendered is the norm. Gender dysphoria should not be treated as normal. It is a mental disorder. Keyword there, disorder. Now that doesn't mean that trans people should be treated like shit, and I denounce anybody that treats a trans person like shit because of that. But a mental disorder should not be treated as normal. When you normalize a mental disorder, nobody wants to seek treatment for it because they think it's cool. And that does more harm for the people that have said disorder than it does to treat it as it is a disorder.
Now, a lot of people like to respond to these arguments by saying things like, hey, I'm an able-bodied cisgender straight white guy, and I haven't had it easy.
Why the hell do you sit there and talk like you're a fucking forklift?
And you know what, Kevin? Tremendous obstacles and hardships can occur in anyone's life.
Yeah, which is my entire point of this video. Which is why this privilege nonsense is just a bunch of bullshit.
But there's a clear and important distinction. Any hardships an able-bodied, cisgender, straight white man faces in our culture aren't specifically a result of them being able-bodied, cisgender, straight white, or male.
Yeah, except when we have to deal with being told that we're privileged when we're cis, white, and male.
Those are all privileged groups who don't have to deal with the discrimination that members of other groups have to deal with.
Yeah, well, you still have offered absolutely fuck-all solutions into how we're supposed to deal with this problem.
This is about systemic issues that affect people because of the disadvantaged populations that they belong to. And remember, Just because you experience privilege in one area of your life doesn't mean that you do in others.
Really, all you're doing is inventing a game that we can play both ways. I could claim that a disabled person is more privileged than me because I have to work due to the fact that I'm able-bodied, and they get to stay at home and get a fat check from the government for being disabled. Now, what exactly is that going to do about that situation, aside from make me sound like a jackass?
You might be a straight white man, but remember the class setting? Surprise! If you're poor, some of the advantages you thought you had are no longer available to you.
Yeah, no fucking shit. Which is another reason why I think this privilege talk is a whole bunch of horse shit.
In White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack, scholar and anti-racism activist Peggy McIntosh identified 26 ways that she benefits from white privilege, including, I can be sure that if I need legal or medical help, my race will not work against me.
Yeah, that doesn't fucking happen. Maybe it happened back in the 50s, but it doesn't happen now. That is against the law. And also, I really don't think this bitch can count.
If a traffic cop pulls me over, I can be sure I haven't been singled out because of my race.
Yeah, well, if you haven't broken the law, you really don't have anything to worry about, no matter what race you are.
And when I am told about my national heritage or about civilization, I am shown that people of my color made it what it is.
Oh my god, this cunt just shat on the work of Martin Luther King Jr., George Washington Carver, Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, and every other amazing black person that helped make the country what it is today. This bitch is not doing anti-racism correctly.
Now maybe you're a white person who thinks, but I'm one of the nice ones.
Well, I admit I am kind of a jackass, but not in an oppressing people of not my race kind of way.
I individually don't do anything to actively contribute to the oppression of people of color.
And I don't.
And maybe you don't.
There's no maybe about it, bitch. I fucking don't.
But it doesn't change the fact that you benefit from being white, and other folks are disadvantaged because they're not.
Yeah, fuck off with that shit. Nobody's disadvantaged just because of their race. Anybody can be anything in this country. You just gotta get off your ass and work for it, instead of making up a bunch of privilege videos that blame other people for the fact that you can't get off your ass and make us something of your life.
No one is asking you to apologize to them directly because your ancestors owned slaves.
Bitch, say what?
If you had any kind of brain cells or decency, you would be fighting for reparations for black people and not trying to dress like us so you can sleep with us.
We are asking you to recognize that the systems put in place by your forefathers still disproportionately benefit you.
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
So, you're saying that the civil rights movement did fuck all for black people in this country or something?
So here's your straw man back.
Keep it suits you.
A lot of us are resistant to recognizing our privilege. We might feel like we're being made to feel guilty because we belong to a privileged group.
Well, what other point is there in acknowledging that we have privilege or whatever? You still have yet to explain what I'm supposed to do with this information.
But saying stuff like, well, excuse me for being white, is really not a good look.
Yeah, just like it's not a good look to tell somebody they're a garbage human just because they exist in the front row.
If you Google my name on YouTube, you get shitheads like this dude who are making these dumbass videos that just say the same shit over and over again. And like, I hate to give you attention because you're a garbage human. Whatever, dude. But it's, you know, like the fact that these dudes are making endless videos that just go after every feminist over and over and over again, I think is a part of the issue of why we have to have these conversations. We don't just get to be online.
These conversations are not about guilt, and feeling defensive about it doesn't help anyone. This is about taking responsibility and doing our part to recognize and dismantle these unjust systems.
Again, you haven't said how the fuck we're supposed to do that, and you haven't told us what systems we're supposed to dismantle.
Hope you found this video helpful.
No, because now I have more questions than answers, and I still don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to do with this information of privilege.
We'd love it if you share this episode with your friends and family.
Oh, I'll share it with them. But I'm going to share them the version of which I take the piss out of it.
Join us in our next episode when we kick things up a notch by bringing intersectionality into the mix.
Well, I'll be there and I will debate on taking the piss out of that one also.
You'll deceive me soon.
Au revoir.
Well, thank fuck that's over. I still have no idea what the fuck I'm supposed to do with this information, but Whatever. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell because YouTube doesn't like to tell people what I'm doing here. You can follow me on Twitter at hey_dude77. I now have a Discord, which will be linked in the description. Please come and check that out. And I will see y'all in the next video. Catch y'all later. I'm trying to film a video here. Can I film a video here? Is that okay? Yes, I love you too. But you pick the most inconvenient times to be cuddly.